But do we want to get started with our friends over there in Provo?
Yes, I think we
All
do.
right. All right. So, BYU football. Last season, they were arguably the best team in the Big 12 until it got to the Big 12 championship game where Texas Tech, who I hate that it looks like they are going to be the best Big 12 team again, just looking at the player profiles that we got. I say I hate that because of what they pulled this offseason. But BYU does have a lot of potential to duplicate and replicate, and those are the same word. What am I doing? The success they had last season, just because they only had two players that left in the offseason to go to the draft. So they do still have a lot of that like backbone still from previous season. And then in coaching, they did have a bit of a shakeup. Their defensive coordinator, Jay Hill, is part of that restructuring that went to Michigan. He's going to be handling the defensive capabilities under Kyle Whittingham. And replacing him is going to be Kelly Papinga, who was the last 3 seasons as the defensive edge coach.
And also former UVA co-defensive coordinator and
I didn't know that. Thank you for pointing it out to me. One theme that I had from this, and Kev, you can tell me if we need to cut this part, but I don't think it's bad, but I want to bring it up.
Just a real stand-up guy. I mean,
dude, he could have gone to Penn State easily. Could have gone to Penn State easily. He wanted to build something with the Cougars, and I think he is building something.
Honestly, the story there was that like a bunch of BYU donors ended up getting a bag together to throw at him to make him stay. I wonder if it was only like if the renegotiated contract and the more money, what the prime reason why he stayed, or if that was just kind of like sweetening the pot. He was
right.
He was going to stay the whole time. I'd be curious to hear inside sources from BYU on that.
I mean, there are always conversations that happen behind closed doors that we're probably never going to hear about. I'm going to go off the vibes of all the interviews I've been watching with Kalani. I think it is just his desire to build something. That's what my gut is telling me. But in the offseason, he was faced with a unique challenge, Kev. I don't know if you saw this, but they did have to replace 3 wide receivers. Only one of those guys was through natural reasons. That was Mr. Chase Roberts. But they also had Parker Kingston and Cody Hagan, who, after the transfer portal deadline, dropped out. There were bad headlines I'm not going to go into for Parker Kingston, which is why he cannot play. And then Cody Hagan said he was medically retiring. So that means that he had to restructure that wide receiver position in the offseason with players already on the roster. That's not something that a lot of in the modern day of college football coaching that a lot of guys have to deal with. So that's going to be one of their bigger question marks. Definitely. I don't know if I had it even on my notes.
So on that, and maybe I was incorrect, but I have 6'6" Kyle Casper, the Oregon transfer.
So maybe we'll look it up in post and I'll put like the headline down here.
The guy with the broccoli hair.
What's that?
He's that 6'6" white boy with the broccoli hair. That's what I had on him.
I don't.
But yeah, we can look into that because I did think. I mean, yeah, they really had to rebuild. Also, their tight end was drafted too, Carson Ryan.
Yes.
So yeah, this is what I think. This needs to be Bears' breakout season,
big time. Yes,
and what a curveball to lose your top targets like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that it'll be interesting to see how they, I wonder if they'll transition to more of a, if it'll be a more balanced, run heavy.
It's gonna be run heavy, and thankfully they got a guy to do that. You know what I mean?
And that's if I'm remembering correctly, that's kind of how they ended up beating Utah last year. They really relied on the run game.
Yep. It is. Now, with LJ Martin, want to go back here. He was the 2025 Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. This is his last year of eligibility. I'll double check that to make sure, but it says he's a senior. The guy had 1,305 rushing yards, 1,305, in case that didn't resonate, 12 touchdowns, and then he's dual. He was able to catch some passes. He had 36 receptions, garnering 255 yards. So he's able to extend those plays a little bit, get some extra yards. Dual threat. Maybe the answer to who's going to catch some passes for Bear is going to be, all those check down passes when there's some tight coverage. Although looking at the schedule, foreshadow, I don't know how much the coverage is going to be tough for them, but LJ Martin is going to be a good, quick, short option when the check down isn't any good. You know what I mean? But I got other players I want to talk about. Well, actually one who's in the secondary. But before I do that, do you have any other points before we get to the schedule?
Yeah, really kind of, I feel like BYU's, it was Bear, it was Tiger, but their defense did not get the flowers that they deserve. They really had that bend, don't break mentality. I think just looking at my stats, number 4 ranked red zone defense.
Yep.
1.8 takeaways per game. I mean, you remember that Texas Tech, the first one when I think they forced Texas Tech to kick like 17 field goals or something. It was a little exaggerated, but just their ability to keep their opponents out of the end zone. And sometimes I guess if anything, that's one of my concerns is like a bend don't break defense.
Yes.
It's a hard thing to replicate year after year. It's like sometimes you lose a few of the grittiest players, and then all of a sudden you're not keeping them out of the end zone. You're not holding the 3. So that'll be an interesting challenge for the new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and when you were just talking, I was scourging through my notes. Did you mention the stat about how they did in 2025 in terms of sacks allowed? They were number 13 on the offensive line. So, they do have pieces to replace with that in terms of transfers. But one other player that I'm going to know before I go into my main guy is center Bruce Mitchell. He's going to be transferring over into that role after spending his first 2 seasons as a D lineman. That's going to be a player I'm very interested to see how that transfer happens. And one quote that I really loved as a gambler from this guy was he said in an interview with the Cougar Wire, I think the magazine is called, I have lofty goals, but I don't want to say them because I'm superstitious.
I do like that mentality.
I like that mentality. But the other guy I want to talk about, I mentioned the secondary, was, I'm sure you saw him in your research, Cade Uwave from Cal, that transfer who's coming over. He's only going to do this one. He's graduating in December. He's going to try to go to the draft after this. He was the 5th in the ACC at Cal when it came to tackles, with 100 tackles, despite missing time with an injury last season. Okay. I get that there's a lot of different expectations when it comes to Cal and the ACC, but it's not really an upward move to go from ACC Cal to BYU in the Big 12, in my opinion. I feel like the competition is still the same, but now you just have a little bit more tools, and especially with not Kalani Sitake, I'm sorry. Who's the defensive coordinator nowadays? Did I already mention him?
Kelly
Yes,
Poppinga.
I already did. Kelly Poppinga, who's familiar with this scheme. I think he's going to be able to develop Cade to be ready for the NFL while also adapting him to the style of play that we are familiar with from BYU, which is very much blitz heavy. Okay, so
yeah, I mean, anytime you have a safety that can get 100 tackles, that's
right.
That's impressive. I'm going to assume he didn't have that many missed tackles that resulted in touchdowns.
Yes, he was one of 6 players on BYU to receive all Big 12 honors in the preseason. The other ones we mostly already talked about. LJ Martin, Bruce Mitchell I brought up. And then there's also the senior defensive tackle. And again, apologies for pronunciations here.
Ooh, this is a tough one, yeah.
What's that?
I said this is a tough one. But
you know who I'm going to say? Okay. Keanu Tanuvasa and Falatau Sachwala. The junior defensive back, leading tackler in BYU for the 2025 season. The unfortunate part of that is he's currently missing most of the preseason with a fractured foot. So there's going to be some catch-up game there. I think it's going to be one of those things where their defenses and their secondary is going to have to balance each other out a lot. It's a balanced roster. So, looking at the schedule, and we'll get into this, it looks like you have one more point, though.
Yeah, I did. And this is kind of getting off track, but just looking towards the future for BYU. one thing I was surprised is their 2027 recruiting class, 12th in the Big 12.
Really?
It was so surprising. I looked into it. Just one, it was I guess the talent pool out of Utah in the not this class that's arriving in 2026, but the next class, just not the best talent pool. A few of the key players went out of state, and they didn't have, they didn't have all that many needs. Or I believe, yeah, the Big 12, their average recruit rank was number 4 for
Really?
2027. So like they're kind of going for quality over quantity. But yeah, that was a surprising thing because their recruiting's really been trending upwards. So sometimes when you're from a smaller state football wise, that you're going to have down years that aren't really the fault of your recruiting staff. And then the only other note, did you see their 2026 4-star quarterback recruit, Ryder Lyons? He'll be taking a 2-year hiatus for his mission trips before he joins. So I guess he'll be joining the team in 2028.
Well, if he's a 20, wait, was he a 2026 recruit or a 27?
Yeah. So if he wasn't doing the mission, he'd be not started, but he'd be on the team this year. But yeah, so.
Well, how many years of eligibility does Brockmeyer have left? Because that might.
Well, he was a freshman last year, so.
So that's fine in my.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I mean, it might honestly work out timing wise well. Whereas once Bear's ready to go, then
because I don't see Brockmeyer being a guy who goes to the draft early. You know what I mean? I see him sticking it out. So that means that they'll probably have one good season of Brockmeyer, like kind of mentoring that guy. You know what I mean? All right. We good?
Yeah, let's get to our picks.
All right. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. All right, your first pick.
Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All right. First game, Labor Day weekend, Utah Tech at home, in-state rivalry. BYU goes 1-0.
I smiled when seeing Utah Tech because that was, you know what I mean?
I love those boys, but yeah.
Yeah.
We picked them.
Yeah. Hey, Arizona. Look, Brent Brennan and what he does with the program, it's always going to be respectable. You know what I mean? But looking at what they've done in the offseason and who they've lost, I don't see them being able to get out. And this is an at-home game at LaVelle Edwards Stadium. So, yeah, 2-0.
All right. Now we go on the road, Colorado State. I like watching that Colorado State team, especially in the days of Deion Sanders. Like, I love them playing the heel to Coach Prime.
I'm with you.
Being the rivals there. And I think that game's closer than you might think, but I BYU ends up going 3-0.
Kev, looking at the teams they're playing against, it kind of sucks because a majority of it sucks for their opponents. A majority of them have new quarterback situations.
Oh.
Yeah. So keeping that trend going with TCU, who lost their guy to Indiana. I want to think that Sonny Dykes can put up a fight, but like you said with Colorado State, on paper as it is right now, we're 4-0.
Yep. And then what might be a hard game, game BYU, I believe, won 2 touchdowns last year.
Yes.
The road at Iowa State. Now they got Iowa State without Matt Campbell. I think this one's at home as well. Pretty easy. 5-0 win.
I hate this.
Ooh, you got stuck with. Ooh.
I hate this because I have to go with my brain, not my heart. And everybody who follows us on social media knows my opinions personally on Notre Dame, but the facts are the facts. Yeah, right now we are 5-1. Notre Dame takes it.
That if this game,
it'll be a close game. I think BYU, all things staying consistent, is going to be the dog in this, but I think they cover.
Yeah, and if this game was on the road at Notre Dame, I'd have a lot more confidence in agreeing with you. But just the fact that it's a home game for BYU, like, man, that when we get to picking this game, I bet I'd make a dumb decision and pick BYU. But
well,
it was your deal.
I said they lost this. Remember, we had this conversation last time. We stay consistent.
Yep.
We don't
and it was your pick. So 7-1. Okay. Now we got on the road at UCF, which I mean, I don't know much about that team, to be honest.
The
Looking
main
this
thing I
year.
know is that Scott Frost is down there coaching right now.
Well, I'm gonna give him a bounce back here. It's my birthday weekend. 6-1. They get a win over UCF.
Never count out Arizona State to be upset for the Big 12 big games. That's one thing I've learned.
Especially at home.
Yeah, especially at home. Well, wait, no. BYU would be it.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Yeah. There was that. But without Sam Levitt, they're going to have a new guy. The one upset that I could see happening is going to be your next pick. So I'm not going to force it here. I'm going to keep them at 7-1. Yeah.
Well, they're playing two teams that just lost their coach because Utah now in a bit of recalibration mode. So this one, I almost feel like it doesn't matter who the coach is when you got the Holy War.
Right. No, you throw the book out the window, definitely.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say to go ahead. Sorry.
With that said, I am going to pick BYU to get it done.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I gotta be unbiased here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're 8-1 right now.
8-1. Wow. I guess we're high on BYU over here. Baylor. I like Dave Aranda as a coach. He's part of the Coach O championship coaching tree. And they got DJ Lagway coming in there. Be starter. I'm wondering, but it's not really a look ahead when you look at what Kansas is as a program. And it's at Lavelle Edwards and Provo.
Yeah, it could be a bit of an adrenaline dump after they play their rivals the week before on the road. So not a look ahead, but kind of a look behind game.
But am I gambling or am I making an analytical pick here? That's what it comes down to.
That's kind of one you got to throw in. I feel like with all these preseason prediction videos I watch when they guess the schedule, it's like you might as well just pull up the end matchup predict.
And for you just saying that, you know what? Baylor finds a way to upset them. There you go.
I was feeling similar about that.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can go back to reality with these next two.
Yeah, Kansas on the road.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. So they're going to be 9-2 at this point.
9-2, and it's going to be 10-2. I don't trust Cincinnati with again another new quarterback situation going on there. So
that'll probably get them into the Big 12 championship game. 10-2, 8-1.
And it's going to be against Texas Tech again.
Yeah.
It's going to be against Texas Tech. Dude, one little caveat I have to put in here is Texas Tech has guys even without Sorsby. And I didn't realize that until I started looking through all the Sports Illustrated ranking page. They got a guy in almost every position outside of quarterback who's ranked in the top 15.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, that's that oil money for you.
Exactly. And until we put a cap on this crap and actually figure out a way to make it, make sense again, here we're going to be stuck in this okay, whatever. I don't want to go through it. All right.
I actually loved Texas Tech and LSU in a college football playoff game. That'd be a nice.
That would be.
Yeah.
A nice battle of, sinners versus, I don't know. Okay.